In today's episode, I'm going to help you find the right self-care practices for you. And this is based on some very simple astrology. You're going to easily be able to follow along with this. And this is going to help you to understand why some self-care advice just doesn't resonate. And by understanding your own emotional nature, you're more prepared to help your clients and the people around you. And this is really key to my work, helping you to find your own guidance system. It's something that we really go into in depth when I'm working with clients one-to-one, because this is how you take back your power. And something as simple as the moon's element, and we're going to talk about what that means in just a moment, can just give you so much information and help you get in touch with emotional stability and even your intuition. So what do I mean by moon element? Well, you already know that the zodiac has 12 signs. The moon can be in any one of those signs depending when you were born, where you were born. But each of those signs corresponds to a particular element. And that element can be fire, earth, air, or water. And each of those elements has a very different set of needs and a different way of connecting to the body, to your intuition, to your heart and soul. And so that's why knowing something as simple as the moon's element can really be useful for nurturing that part of yourself. And by the end of this episode, I'm sure you're going to have your own aha moment, as I've seen with people that I'm working with, when they suddenly realize these energies that are associated with the elements that their moon is in. So, is your moon in a fire sign? Well, the fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And if your moon is in a fire sign, then it needs inspiration and movement. The fire signs are associated with spontaneity, with adventure. There's a real energy about the fire signs. So if you're following advice that's saying you need to sit down every day, do some breathing, be very still, and that's how you're going to connect to your intuition, you might just be going, I can't do that. So activities that are too rigid or that don't allow flexibility or that require complete stillness might feel very uncomfortable for you if you have your moon in one of those signs. What can work to help you reconnect with your soul, with your heart, is going on adventures, doing sports that really get you excited, that really get that adrenaline going, doing things that are fun, playing games. These are all things that are really going to ignite that energy of fire, which is what you want to do. If you are Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius and you're feeling uninspired, you're feeling completely flat, then the answer might not be sitting in meditation, going for a massage. You need things that are going to lift your spirit and remind you of the fun of life. And of course, there's lots of other things that are going on in our astrological chart. Perhaps your sun is in a water sign and you have lots of personal planets in air signs. And so you might have a combination of the things that we're going to be talking about today, but I want to keep it very simple. So if your moon is in a fire sign and you haven't tried some of these suggestions that we've just been talking about, then definitely give them a try, because it might be just what you need to reignite that energy, to lighten your soul. This might even be the time when you get more intuitive messages, when you receive those downloads, when you're hiking or you're doing a marathon, and that's when you get intuitive messages or suddenly are filled with creativity. So the next element is earth. Now, earth signs have a very different energy. Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And these signs are grounding. They need a sensory experience. So quite different to that energy of fire, the earth signs prefer something a bit more stable, a bit more structured, less about competitiveness and more about connecting with nature in some way with the earth signs. These are the signs that perhaps would find a lot more strength or gain a lot more peace and calm from doing things like gardening, doing things like clay work. Because there is this connection to the five senses, then doing something that really reconnects you to those senses, whether that's aromatherapy, having a massage, really enjoying nice food, having a nice meal with loved ones. There's a simplicity to the earth signs. And when you reconnect to those things, if your moon is in an earth sign, you're really going to find that you are nurturing that moon. You are recognizing that part of you that needs to feel connected to the earth, that needs to feel connected to the physical in some way. And so if you have your moon in an earth sign, you might find that things like visualization or a lot of spiritual advice about the unseen world perhaps doesn't really connect with you. Emotional therapy is something that you don't find really inspires you. And so instead you might connect with crystals in some way, something physical, or walking out in nature is something that you find is much more rejuvenating for you. And that's where you get your intuitive messages, where you get that guidance about the client that you've got the next day. And you might even recognize that, for example, if your sun sign is in one of these elements, that you recognize that actually some of those things do appeal to you. And it's important to remember that the sun is our core identity, but it has to be balanced with the emotional needs. Honoring your moon element is going to bring you a different kind of intuition. Nurturing your moon is going to bring you more into balance with the rest of the chart. My astrology teacher Frank calls the moon energy our backpack. It's a backpack of needs that we take wherever we are. And we might not express them explicitly, but they are personal emotional needs, psychological needs that we look to satisfy in some way during our day-to-day. Okay, is your moon in an air sign? The air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And air signs need mental stimulation. They need connection. So if your moon is in an air sign, you really gain a lot of value from connecting with people, from reading, from watching videos that help you to understand yourself on a different level. And perhaps things like solitary contemplation or some kind of disciplined exercise routine just doesn't do it for you. Maybe you're the kind of person that prefers to journal, to write about the things that you're thinking and feeling, and that you really find that there's a lot of release in that. Or even that when you are writing, that you're starting to bring in that intuition, that you're channeling that higher mind. But you might find it quite frustrating when people tell you that you need to feel more or be more emotional, because if your moon is in an air sign, then the energy is of wanting to understand. It doesn't mean that you can't feel or that you can't be emotional. Of course, we have all of the elements in our birth chart in some way, but there might be a tendency, if you like, to prefer other ways of expressing what you're thinking and feeling. Your clarity might actually come when you're with others, when you're socializing, when you're playing off ideas, instead of following boring self-care advice. And so before we go on, just let's have a quick chat about how you find what element your moon is in. And this is very easy. If you already have your birth chart, you can simply look at where the moon is, what sign it is in, and from there you can deduce the element. There are many apps that easily pull up your birth chart. You can even put your birth information into Google and it will probably be able to give you your moon sign. What you do need though, if you're putting it into Google, for example, is you need to make sure that you have your birth date, of course, your birth location, which is also very important, and if possible, the birth time, as exact as possible. If it's not exactly the right time, it doesn't matter, but if you can get a more or less time, especially if it's in the morning, afternoon, or evening, that's really helpful, because sometimes the moon can change signs. And that's it. If you already know what sign your moon is in, then hopefully today you've been able to really follow along. And some of these ideas resonate with the element that your moon is in. Finally, water. So the element of water. This is the signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And water signs need emotional flow, connection of some kind. There's a need to express emotions and to understand emotions. And so this is the element that is perhaps more likely to enjoy space, to enjoy that solitary time, to really contemplate their own feelings. This might be an element that is more likely to do something like creative dancing, something that's very flowy and spontaneous. Like all of the elements can dance, of course, but there's a different energy to the kind of dance that perhaps a water sign would like than perhaps a fire sign would like. Maybe a fire sign would like more like salsa, whereas a water sign might prefer something more flowing and improvised. Another thing that I think moon in water signs often forget is that because there is this strong connection to water, that actually being near water or taking some time out whenever you can to go to a swimming pool if you can, or even just connecting with the water when you're having a shower, when you're having a bath, because as naturally you have a strong water element, connecting with water is going to bring you relief, balance, connection to your heart. This is the element that perhaps isn't so much into those hardcore gym circuits or even really overwhelming social situations. It's not that they can't go into those situations, but it's just that those situations are not the ones that are going to stimulate them. They're not the kind of place where they're going to really feel like they can connect with their heart and with those deep feelings that the moon in water element can have. So yes, meditating, dream work, really using your dreams to get intuitive messages, to reconnect with that deeper part of yourself. And the fascinating thing is that once you know this, once this idea about the elements kind of sinks in, then you can actually use this with your clients, with the people that you're working with around you. Because it's not difficult to find out your client's moon sign. And so you might be wondering why you're recommending that they do this kind of meditation, that they spend some time on their own and they're not really getting anywhere. It could be something as simple as the activity that you're offering is not in line with what they really resonate with and what will perhaps bring them more breakthroughs. If you want to go deeper in working with moon energy, I have another video I did a while ago about working with the moon phases, which again is simple astrology. I like to keep things very easy on this channel, but I think you would really like that if you've enjoyed this episode today. Understanding your moon, understanding this energy that we're here to work with, to evolve, can really become your go-to if you're feeling flat, if you're feeling uninspired, if you're feeling disconnected to your soul's voice. The moon is also associated with the body. So when we connect with the moon in this way, then we're also connecting with the body. We can hear what our body needs more easily and what our body is trying to tell us. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know in the comments, where is your moon sign? Does any of this resonate? Does it make sense that some of those things that the other elements demand are not so appealing to you? I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you for watching.